This is GARIS Masculist MGTOW flyers. That is 2 3-page essays on the themes of masculism, or MGTOW, written by and read aloud by Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. This is flyer number 378, entitled BitChute Hacked or BitChute Hypocritical? Description. This flyer describes something alarming that happened to me recently. BitChute, which prides itself on its freedom of speech, sent me a permanent channel ban notice. Yet in practice, I can still upload videos to them from my website. So what's going on? Is BitChute being hacked by perhaps the Jewish elite, who may have reacted to a very threatening test comment of mine I put on a Sandman video recently in a BitChute video of his, to test whether BitChute truly does exercise freedom of speech? Or is there something more sinister going on? For example, behind the scenes, BitChute is controlled by the Jewish elite. The flyer itself. BitChute Hacked or BitChute Hypocritical? By Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. Email profhugodegaris@yahoo.com. Website profhugodegaris.wordpress.com. Something rather disturbing happened to me very recently. I rely heavily on BitChute as the main platform for my masculist videos, after YouTube, that is JewTube, deleted my masculist channel in 2019, along with many others on the same theme. As a form of punishment of YouTube, I put up 3 links to each of my masculist flyers/videos, one to YouTube, one to Minds, and one to BitChute. Anyone hitting on the link to a YouTube video gets the "This channel has been deleted" message, whereas hitting on a Minds or a BitChute link gets access to the video, thus advertising to the world that YouTube censors, making them contemptible. At the moment, I'm getting about 400 hits a day on BitChute, which is quite a lot compared to their small but rapidly growing size relative to YouTube. YouTube is getting a reputation of being rather mindlessly middle class, rather staid and tame, not a platform where the bleeding edge stuff is to be found. That kind of material is much more likely to be found on BitChute. So when the event mentioned at the top occurred to me, I was quite disturbed, which motivated me to make this flyer and video to warn the world that, brackets, in my interpretation of this event, either BitChute is being hacked or it's being hypocritical. Before explaining what I mean by these alternatives, I need to explain what happened to me recently. I went to bitchute.com and was asked to log in with my email address and password. On doing that, I was stunned to receive the following message. Quote, "This account is currently banned indefinitely for severe policy violations. If you wish to appeal this decision, then contact us via report@bitchute.com. This I did not expect from BitChute, since BitChute prides itself on not censoring, on promoting freedom of speech, which is why, after having had my masculist channel deleted from JewTube, I rely heavily on BitChute to get my masculist message out to the world. I panicked and went straight to my website to see if I could open any of the 1,000 or more masculist videos I have uploaded over the years to BitChute. Yes, I could open them. Whew! I then tried to upload a dummy video to BitChute, and that also succeeded. So at least I can continue to upload future masculist videos to BitChute, in brackets, assuming nothing further happens. But there is more. Several days prior to writing this, I was reading the comments on a Sandman, in brackets, the most prominent of the MGTOWs, that's men going their own way, video, and realised that BitChute is no longer using the company Disqus, that's D-I-S-C-U-S, to process the comments on BitChute videos because Disqus was censoring them. I wanted to give a real test of the level of freedom of speech that BitChute offers, particularly concerning criticism of Jews, to see if, behind the scenes at BitChute, the Jewish elite are in power, capable of censoring BitChute whenever they want. So I wrote a comment that went a bit like this, in brackets, paraphrasing a bit, because I did not bother to keep a copy and could not find it later when I went hunting for it. Perhaps Sandman had censored it himself, or ... question mark. The title of the comment was, "The Jews committed a far greater Holocaust on the Russians than the Nazis did on them." My comment mentioned two ideas that I believe are the most threatening to the Jewish elite. That is, that the Jewish Bolsheviks committed a 10 times larger Holocaust on the white Christian Russians than the supposed 6 million Jews that the Nazis killed. The highly respected Solzhenitsyn, Nobel Prize winner in literature, who single-handedly destroyed the historical reputation of Stalin with his two books, A Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich and The Gulag Archipelago, which were bestsellers all around the world. He also wrote two other books entitled 200 Years Together and The Jews in the Soviet Union, which claimed that the Jewish Bolsheviks killed not 6 but 66 million white Christian Russians in the Russian Civil War and the Russian purges. This is more than 10 times worse than what the Nazis did to the Jews in World War II. Yet the Jewish elite put up Holocaust museums in all the major cities to better extract guilt money from Western countries, especially the US. $4 billion a year from US taxpayers go to Israel. And Germany, $1 billion a year from German taxpayers to Israel. Yet, hypocritically, the Jews themselves committed a far greater Holocaust, says the highly respected Solzhenitsyn. These two books by this famous author were bestsellers in Russia and were published in Germany, but were suppressed from publication in the English-speaking countries by the Jewish publishers in those countries, since they have a virtual stranglehold over the English-speaking publishing world. The other main idea that is profoundly threatening to the Jewish elite is the idea that 90% of Jews are Ashkenazi Jews, that is, descendants of the Khazars, that's Khazars. That is, a people who were converted to Judaism in the 8th century, who lived between the Caspian and the Black Seas, who fled north into Poland and Russia due to the invasion of their land by the Mongols centuries later. All this is recounted in Arthur Koestler's detailed book, The 13th Tribe. The kingdom of Khazaria lay where Georgia is today. Thus, Koestler's evidence and more recent DNA sequencing evidence supports the idea that 90% of Jews are not Semites, that is, not originating from the Palestine region of the East Mediterranean coast, but are descendants of a Turco-Russian people, that is, from Eastern Europe. Thus, the Jewish rationale of a return to the homeland is undermined, so that in fact, if the Jews want to return to their homeland, then that should be to Georgia, not Palestine, since only 10% of Jews are Semites. This idea is very threatening to the Jewish elite, since they have stolen the wrong land, pushing the Palestinians out of their own land, creating the world's largest concentration camp, namely the Gaza Strip, with 1 million Palestinian inmates, one of the great moral abominations of the 20th century that is seen as being so morally abhorrent that even American Jews are now anti-Zionist in large numbers. Okay, that was, in large form above, the gist of my comment put in the Sandman video to see what would happen. Would BitChute censor it? A few days later, I opened BitChute to find the above banning notice. I then wondered, quote, Was this comment of mine on the Sandman video the cause of the ban notice? It's hard to believe that this was just coincidence. Exclamation mark, question mark. So, I'm left wondering, is BitChute being hacked by Jewish censors? I know from other videos that there are hundreds of Israeli censors, in brackets, often Israeli university student volunteers, who scour the internet to censor negative information about the Jews. The Jewish elite have largely taken control of the source of ideas that most people use. For example, they control the news distribution companies like Reuters, AP, etc. All the 6 major news companies in the US. They dominate publishing in the English-speaking countries. They control Hollywood. Increasingly, they are controlling the universities. So we're in a position to brainwash the public into whatever the Jewish elite want the stupid goy to believe. This elite certainly doesn't want the goy to know about the Khazars, nor about the Jewish Bolshevik murder of 66 million white Christian Russians, portrayed so vividly in Solzhenitsyn's 2 books on the topic. So why the above ban notice, and coming from BitChute of all people? What is going on? Are the Jewish elite hacking BitChute, which generally aims to have freedom of speech on their video hosting platform? Or are the Jewish elite behind the scenes controlling BitChute, making BitChute's claim of promoting freedom of speech mere hypocrisy? Question mark. There's a lot at stake here. I make this flyer/video because it's not just about a threat to my own freedom of speech, but to the planet's. YouTube, that is JewTube, is already heavily censored and hence hated for that. If BitChute goes the same way, then that I find truly alarming. I may have to upload all my Masculist videos to yet another video hosting platform, for example BitChute, to ensure that the planet gets masculisted, which in time will affect everyone on the planet, since masculism is about freeing men from manslavery to women, forcing women to FIP up, that is, become FIPs, equals financially independent persons, by forcing women to get a career-competent education so that they become FIPs as adults and not expect to parasite off the money and labour of a man, thus manslaving him. This is a critically important message that needs to be spread across the world. So if BitChute is being censored along with YouTube, that is JewTube, then that is alarming to masculists like myself. I am concerned, very concerned. What is going on? Is BitChute being hacked by the Jewish elite? Or is BitChute controlled behind the scenes by the Jewish elite and hence is being hypocritical when it pushes publicly that it is a champion of freedom of speech? Either way, the above ban notice is alarming, whichever way you look at it. Cheers. Prof. Dr. Hugo de GARIS. Email profhugodegaris@yahoo.com. Website profhugodegaris.wordpress.com. Author of the book Masculism, Men's Rebellion Against Being Manslaves to Women, an e-textbook of 370 plus masculist flyers for men's studies courses. Freely downloadable in Microsoft Word format from my website. Ciao.